Hey everyone, this is Brian here, and I want to do a DVD review of not one, but two DVDs that I enjoy, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you enjoy, if you're wrestling fans, that is. Let me just move that right there. And the DVDs I want to talk about are based on a promotion that, like I said, if you're a wrestling fan, you enjoyed this promotion probably more than any promotion currently today, any that's going on or has been going on in the past. And this promotion, that if you go to a certain city in Pennsylvania, that when you go inside an arena, you will have fans chanting these three letters towards certain wrestlers, or they'll be booing certain wrestlers they don't like. What's the promotion I'm talking about? Well, none other than, that's right, ECW. Now, the DVD I want to talk about is the Rise and Fall of ECW, which came out in 2005. Or actually 2004, 2005, whatever you want to call it. But when this disc came out, it was something that a lot of fans have been waiting for. Because up till then, and even today, there are a lot of loyal ECW fans that wanted the original ECW back in some way. I mean, WWE have been trying their best to kind of give the fans of ECW what they wanted. They wanted to keep the hardcore style. They wanted to keep the extreme style. They wanted to do things that fans wanted to see. I mean, they even gave fans sort of like a dream matchup that had been done in WWE. I mean, not in WWE, but it had been done in ECW, but had not done in a grand platform. The dream match I'm talking about was Tommy Dreamer against Rob Van Dam, Intercontinental Championship versus Hardcore Championship in Madison Square Garden. And what turned out to be, I guess you could say, one of the best matches of this century so far for any championship. And unfortunately, it turned out to be the last hardcore match for WWE, but was not the last hardcore match, period. Last hardcore match for the hardcore title, but what are you going to do? Anyway, this DVD basically talks about, as it says, the rise and fall. Basically begins on how ECW started and how it fell. Talks about a lot of things that could have, spelled the end for it during its mid-time, in the mid-90s and everything. Could have, this talks about a lot of events. For example, we can look down here in the listings that they have here. It's got a lot of listings. I don't know if you can read that real closely. But it talks about a lot of things. Like I said, a lot of things that could have ended the company even before it went out of business in 2001. They talk about things like the crucifixion of Sandman. Now, the crucifixion of Sandman, a lot of people, from what it's told on this DVD, a lot of the fans there, and I don't know if some of you were there that night, but a lot of fans were not happy about what they saw. But they talk about how that could have been the end of it. They also talk about how the pay-per-view that they got in 1996 almost went off the air because of the mass transit incident. They basically talk about anything and everything in here. They talk about a locker room mole. They talk about how the superstars or the wrestlers were more than just wrestlers. That they did more than that. They had other roles. They had roles like booking and shipping out the merchandise to fans and selling tickets and doing the hotlines and things like that. They talk about how as soon as they reached the deal with TNN, how wrestlers like Taz and the Dudley Boys started leaving to WWE, and that also TNN ended up being the worst thing that they ever could have done. Now, as you know, TNN is now Spike TV. But they say it could have been the worst thing they ever did because TNN didn't really advertise them unless the show was going on. And that most of the time, part of the deal was for Joey Styles to do a little advertising for the Roller Jam, if you will, series that came on afterwards. But overall, this DVD, if you have not seen this DVD, but if you have, but you know people that have not seen it, I suggest you let them see it, you do something for them, you let them see it, you let them borrow it, you do something, and I guarantee you make a copy for them if you want. But I guarantee you they will like this DVD as much as I have liked it, because it gives you a lot of things. I mean, it's a 2-disc set, as you can see. It's a 2-disc set. Disc 1 with the story, and then Disc 2 has the extras, like all the matches like the Pit Bulls against Raven and Stevie Richards, Rey Mysterio against Psychosis, you got Mikey Whipwreck and Sandman versus Sandman, Too Cold Scorpio against Sabu, Tommy Dreamer against Raven, Taz against Bam Bam Bigelow, and Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn. But if this doesn't satisfy you, then maybe this will. This is the book that came after it. It's the same title. It gives you more detail in chapters and everything. It talks about almost similar things, but with more details. It even talks about the lesbian situation they had between, or angle that they did, between Beulah McGillicuddy and Kimona. Now, for some of you that don't know who Kimona is, who Kimona is, here's a little bit of trivia. When she went to WCW, she was known as Leilani, I think her name was. I'm not sure, but she went to WCW first as a cheerleader for the Varsity Squad, and then as the valet manager of the Young Dragons. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's who Kimona is. That's Kimona. But what happened is that they did a little situation, sort of like a lesbian angle between her and Beulah, because it actually started out with as a pregnancy angle, where Beulah told Stevie and then Raven that she was pregnant with Tommy's child, Tommy Dreamer's child. But in fact, it was all a setup, a cover, if you will, a cover for her, if you will, to kind of not let anybody know she was actually having an affair with Kimona, a lesbian affair with Kimona. And in here it says, if I could find it, here it is. According to Paul Heyman, and this is a quote from the book, he says, "We built up to that lesbian kiss." Yes, you know, because, again, saying, just as Beulah comes out, she grabs her, I think that's Kimona, by the face, screen freezes, the show ends, and we put on across the screen "to be continued," which had never been done in wrestling. Basically, it goes on to explain that none of the station managers, you know, all the syndicated stations that were airing ECW, had no idea where he was going with this. And that this was in the days before the internet. Because as you know, nowadays, has something like this been done with the internet, everybody knows where it would have led, right? Exactly. Basically what happens is, like I said, he said they were building up to it. Nobody in the syndicated stations, the managers, knew what was going to happen. And as soon as they found out what was going to happen, and saw what was going to happen, one of them, according to this book, calls up Paul Heyman and says, "We can't air this. We can't do this." Do this. We can't air this. And this was, I think, the station manager, I think, from MSG Television. And then after MSG threw him off, every other network, every other syndicated network followed. And they say that with the exception of Philadelphia, of course, Wichita, Kansas, and maybe a few others in between, they lost nearly almost a 90% majority of the stations because of what they did. And according to this quote right here, and I don't think you can read it. Let me kind of zoom it in a little bit. Let's see if you can read it. It said, and I don't know if you can read it because it's a little blurry. It said, "Little did anyone know that lesbian kiss nearly proved to be the kiss of death for ECW." Basically, what he's saying there is that, you know, if they hadn't done that, ECW probably would have survived on all the other stations, wouldn't have lost everything. But because they did that, ECW lost the majority of the stations, like Chicago, Pittsburgh, and a few others. Excuse me while I check my time here. And I will be back with part 2 of my DVD review.